The cave floor was carpeted with more bones and a stronger odor, the smell of death that had always been with him. He called out for 2 men with lights to go with him. Lieutenant Murray sent up 2 rangers that were eager for payback for what happened to Mason. Clark didn't mind they were gung-ho. Clark then thought through the emotion of watching Mason die. Reason took hold and he didn't see any logical explanation to kill any more of these creatures. It would be better to take them alive. He told the 2 men to return down the path. Just as they backed out, he heard a moaning cry from deep in the mountain cavern. In the pre-mission briefing, Chase, the CIA operator, told his 50-man team of specialists about the last encounter with the Kandahar giant and the legends from the area. We encountered and killed a 13-foot-tall giant in the mountains of Afghanistan. He was killed because he threw a spear into a soldier and killed him. We are returning to see if there are any more of these creatures. The rumors began to appear since the early 1920s. The local stories tell about giants that live in and around the caves of Kandahar. 12 to 13 feet tall creatures with red hair that feed on goats, donkeys and even people. The one we captured wore clothes made from animal skin and ornamented with bone jewelry of sorts. We analyzed the contents of this creature's stomach and found only goat and donkeys. According to legend, the creatures are from the Hebrew Bible, before the flood and called the Nephilim. The locals call them something that translates to giant fear monsters. After seeing one for myself, I think fear monster is an appropriate name. We will be flying into Kandahar city. From there we will take helos to within a mile of the site. You've already been given maps and aerial surveys. Anyone that did not study their folders will stay behind. That was the end of the briefing. No one cracked jokes or had any questions. Everyone had a job to do and they knew how to do it. We don't want any more of our people killed, so there is no room for mistakes. Immediately upon arriving, everyone grabbed their equipment and packed it near the cave opening. These are professionals, so there was no unnecessary talking. These are the best of the best. They all had a job to do and these men and women were focused. They didn't waste time. They enter the cave system in 2x2 formation. Except with the occasional sound of soldiers hitting their helmets on the cave ceiling, and the sound of water dripping, the cavern was relatively quiet. There were several openings where light shined in from the ceilings that caused their night vision devices, that were attached to the helmets, caused a flash of temporary blindness and a sudden panic. The 48 soldier specialist continued making their way through the cave system. 2 men were left at the cave opening to cover their backs. After a mile or so through the cave system, light could be seen. Even further through, the cave opened up to an exit to the other side with the sound of a waterfall. The soldiers were signaled to spread out. The major, in charge, looked at Chase, who just shrugged his shoulders. It was as if they passed from an arid desert into a rainforest paradise. Major Dalton motioned to continue through the forest, leaving 2 more soldiers behind to cover their retreat if needed. There was a gorge, green and full of life. Chase and the major huddled together and whispered out a plan. It was decided to send someone back with the video they captured so far, and relay it to camp. Meanwhile they would continue soldiering on. Chase thought they are likely to find anything from giants to aliens. He secretly hoped for aliens. The faint sound of the waterfall disappeared into the forest as they continued on. Suddenly, as the birds stopped chirping, they found themselves in a thick fog. Chase quickly put on his gas mask, but it was too late. Chase woke up momentarily and said, "It is aliens." He then fell back to sleep. While he slept, he dreamed he was surrounded by cave people and they were pointing spears at him with stone tips. Although, he wasn't sure if he was dreaming or hallucinating. All the while, he had the sense that he was being watched. Paranoia is perfectly natural and an occupational hazard, but this was different. Chase continued to drift in and out of consciousness, until he finally came around to find himself at the stone walkway. Still wearing the gas mask, he sat up and saw all the others laid out on the ground behind him. Ah. No aliens. Damn. Chase walked around the still unconscious soldiers. He could see a discharged gas canister. Someone must have pulled the pin. Chase could see two girls with red hair studying him from beside a tree. He didn't look directly at them because he didn't want them to run away. The two girls looked normal in size, not like the giant that was killed. Chase removed his helmet to show them he also had red hair. The two girls giggled, then ran away. Chase wasn't sure what they would find, but two red-haired Irish-looking girls wasn't even on the list. Chase's group of soldier specialists were awake and standing. He didn't know that while they were out, a replacement for the cavern's guard took the soldiers covering their retreat, and the man sent to the other side with the drone video were taken to the village. As quickly as the sound of nature stopped, it began again. Chase and Major Dalton agreed they should continue forward. The Major had a full-spectrum camera attached on two of the specialist helmets. The soldiers walked for 2 days before they saw signs of life. At first there were large goats and sheep, and houses made from stone with thatch roofs. How could any of this be possible? Chase asked himself. This can't be Afghanistan. This looks like an old English or Irish shire. The soldiers were also asking themselves the same thing. A dog could be heard barking in the distance. And what happened to those two young girls? Where could they have run off to? Is this Shangri-La? He asked himself. The Major said, "What was that?" "What did you say?" "Nothing," Chase replied. "Just talking to myself." "I was really hoping for aliens," he then muttered.
This was part 2 of the Kandahar Giant. Look for part 3, and please click like and subscribe.